Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Connected with Julie Bartkus and my fantastic co-host, Mr. Michael Tasner. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and actually, Michael picked this one, dreamy staff. And it's one that I could go on for, and I have gone on for about 4 days and longer. But today, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to see what some of your burning questions are and what questions come up for Michael. But if you're dealing with any kind of staff issue, this is a show that you just don't want to miss. So stay tuned. How you doing, Michael?
I'm having a great week so far. So I turned 37 yesterday.
Woo!
So I'm getting closer to 40. So it was funny. I just looked at was looking at my Facebook feed, and for my 30th birthday, we flew up to New York City. Though it was like insanely cold, and it's obviously cold usually in March. So get to see that's when FAO Shorts was still. I had the signature store open.
Right.
I think they either relocated or closed it or something. But I'm like, well, I guess I better start planning 40. So
well, it comes quicker than you know. So
it definitely does.
37. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like those 7 years. They're like good ones, 27, 17, 27.
Definitely. No, it's 7. Seven's a good lucky number. So we shall see how the luck transpires this year.
Yeah. So what did you do for your birthday this year?
Nothing really crazy. I mean, so my dog just got spayed, so I had to keep an eye on her. So she was just like a day.
Yeah.
So that was just a day before my birthday, and then with COVID, but we went and picked up some nice filet mignon and picked up some couple of fresh lobsters, and just decided to cook at home and just chill. So
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think as I'm getting older, I mean, it's like, what else do I really need to do? So, but no, all is well over here. All is well. I'm excited for today's topic, and I think when I look at, there's just certain topics that day in and day out I'm seeing across. I mean, your Facebook group and my Facebook group and other childcare Facebook groups that I'm on. So there's people that are asking all different questions, and I love to see questions because it gives me a pulse of, I mean, what are people thinking about? What's on their mind? Is this PPP money on their mind? Are they looking at expanding? Are they asking about acquisitions? Or like, what are the topics? And the one that without a doubt comes up every single day, it usually is something like this. Is anyone having challenges with hiring? ? Just hired a new director. She was supposed to start on Monday. It's Friday, and she just told me she won't be in on Monday. Has anyone ever experienced this ? Just did an interview for a teacher, and they came in sweatpants. Has anyone ever heard of this ? And then I start to read the replies, and I'm like, wow, this yes, that happens to me all the time, or oh, just happened here, or impossible to hire. And it's one of those topics that it's just insanely important because you rely, much like Julie relies on people to help her, I rely on people to help me as well. I mean, it's a people business, and especially and even more so in the childcare space. So in having people that you can trust and people that you know are living and breathing your culture, so that like yesterday, I mean, I was able to kind of step away, not for the whole day, unfortunately, just yet, but step away for half a day and not have to worry. Is the house going to burn down, for example, and all of a sudden everything goes chaotic. So you've got to have those team members that make your life easier. You can't do this all alone. And far too often I see owners that are, I'm the owner, I'm the director, I'm doing all the accounting because I didn't want to pay a bookkeeper. I'm trying to do all my own marketing. I'm trying to manage the website. Yeah, like it's just, I'm cooking, and there's going to be those days where you default to that because somebody calls off, but you can't do it all and still maintain that level of happiness that you really were and are seeking in this particular industry.
That's true. Your staff is such a critical piece of the success formula. And, a lot of the calls that I've been on this week, it's been like, you know what? We've got a wait list. We've got a wait list of enrollments, but we can't let them in because we don't have the right staff in place. So, that's another side of the equation. One is that, no, we can't fully enroll, or we can't even think about attracting staff or attracting clients because we don't have staff. And the other is like, man, we got clients, but we can't let them in because we don't have the right staff in place. So we really want to help people turn that around. And the good news is there is a solution. It can be changed. And you have to first believe in the possibilities that there's something different as an option, that there's something different that's possible for you to bring to life. And that's really the first part of this is like, well, with staff, do you think something possible is different? Do you think something different is possible? And that's the first thing to really look at, because there's a lot of people who will say when they look at that question, honestly, go, no, I really don't think anything different is possible. And if you don't believe something's different or something different is possible, then, you're going to be stuck in it.
Oh, and it's that whole piece of not just the law of attraction. I guess it is the law of attraction, but the most simplest of examples of, well, when you were younger, you were bit by a dog, so then you go through your life afraid of dogs because you think every dog is going to bite you. And I hear this a lot on the marketing side of, well, I tried sponsoring a couple of Facebook ads, I really didn't get any interest, or my staff wasn't following up with the leads, or all the leads were terrible. Like there's always going to be a reason why something, in your opinion, isn't possible.
Right.
And there's been a really great exercise that I've been doing each day. And I'm the exact name of what he calls it. I think he calls it the stack, but from a guy named Garrett White. And it's all about where it's the stack. And there's different types of stacks. So there's one called the happy stack, one called the angry stack, one called the gratitude stack, and then like one is like kind of a combination of all of them. And the exercise is to go through and basically start to write things down, and they prompt you with questions. So why are you writing that? So let's say I'm doing an angry stack. So we'll play this one out. So I'm so angry because I spent all this time looking for a director, and I made an offer. They signed the paperwork. I did all the background checks, and it's now Friday at 7 p.m. and they told me they're not coming in on Monday. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you write all that stuff out, and then it's going to prompt you with some additional questions like, well, what are the facts to support this? And you say, well, they sent me this text message, and you continue to go through this, and it's very subtle, but what ends up happening is by the end of this exercise, and it only takes 10 or 15 minutes, you realize that, well, not even just complaining about it isn't going to get you what you want, but there's always something that in the moment you are not thinking about. So if I was doing this for the director piece, for example, as I'm going through this, I might end up writing, okay, I'm so angry. But then maybe as I'm going through this, well, I'm angry with myself because I hired rapidly and did it in a week, and I skipped 3 parts of this step of my process. And well, so you start to go through these things and realize that typically what you're getting is as a result of kind of the current reality, and that there is a different way to do these things. And as Julie has always said many, many times, you need to be able to see that possibility of it is possible to have dreamy, amazing staff so that I can actually leave at 5 o'clock if I want and go be with my family. Or it's possible to have a wait list at my center without having to throw insane amounts of money at marketing, but to be able to get to that point. And until you can start to visualize that and feel it and see it, it does get to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I love that exercise that you're sharing, the stacking, because that really puts you in a position of responsibility where you can eventually drill it down to say, okay, well, where am I really responsible for this happening? And a lot of times we just sit in the victim chair, and the victim chair doesn't let us see possibilities that the empowered chair does. So if you do an exercise like what Michael's talking about, you really get propelled into an empowered state of mind, which really allows you to see other opportunities to make improvements. So when I talk with childcare leaders, I'm surprised the amount that don't even do reference checks. They we tried it, doesn't work anymore, can't get a hold of anybody, nobody will say anything. And we did a whole audio program on reference checking because there's other little signs that you can see that will give you an inclination like, all right, is this person going to be a good person? Yeah. And I always think about when we think about, well, is it possible? People might be, well, I tried marketing once, I tried Google ads once, I tried to do my website once and it didn't work. But how many times do you go to a health club Michael and I know this, do one workout and you look at yourself in the mirror before and you come home from that workout and you go, yep, there it is. The tummy's still there. It just doesn't change in that one action. It's consistent action over time with the persistent goal that you want to bring to life, to make happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that is step one, is to make sure that you have it in your mind and your heart, and know that it is possible to not just be attracting people that don't want to work with you. Because I can promise you, there are directors out there are teachers out there are people that are willing to relocate to come and join your center. I mean, this is a fulfilling career for a lot of people, and a lot of the directors that I've been able to meet over the years, and some of the teachers, I typically don't deal with the teachers. I'll work with the owners and the directors, but they'll say, well, I've been here for 18 years, and they know that they could make more money doing something different, but they love the culture, the environment, working with kids all day. So it's the same thing with, I used to do a lot of work with credit unions. So you can, credit unions versus banks, almost always you can make more money working at a bank. Banks tend, because they're for profit, they're not member owned like a credit union. Banks, they tend to have more money. They charge higher fees to their clients and things like that. So they could pay $100,000 a year to a branch manager, where a credit union might pay $60,000. However, there are people that will continue, and they will never leave that credit union environment, because they're there for the environment and the culture and what that business stands behind. So it's the same kind of thing, that you need to start looking for what are some of the sticky points to when you're attracting these directors and teachers and things like that are going to make your center special and unique. And there's a lot of little things that I know you do for your staff and your team that you just don't advertise or talk about, but those fun little things can make all the difference in the world of somebody picking your center versus another center, for example.
Yeah, and those little things are important, but what I think is really an important question, if you're tuning into this and staff is one of your issues, write down this question: what's demotivating my staff? Because when we hire, when we interview people, when we bring them on board, typically they're excited, we're excited, we do the happy dance, and then we put them into our environment, and a day later, a week later, a month later, however long, it's like, wait a second, you look at that person's performance and you're like, they're not who they said they were in that interview. And you scratch your head wondering, well, what in the heck happened? So you've really got to ask yourself, well, what happens in your environment when somebody comes in and their motivation levels start to decrease? And you have to ask yourself, is it the employee I hired, or is it something in the environment? And if you really look at that question, there is a lot of power in that, to where if you really look at that, really think about it, you go, okay, I think it's the environment. Then you are empowered to make some good change happen. And most often it is the environment. Now, there are places who are attracting not the right staff, right? We're not attracting the right people. But even if we attract the wrong person, we put them into the environment, we're going to see them plummet. Some it's an hour, some it's a day, some it's a week, a month, but it happens.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, and the demotivators are so cool to understand, because once you figure out what's demotivating and you start flipping those things around, then you can be promoting those things. Like, one of the things I always say to ask people is, when they're coming in for an interview, like, do you want to work for a supervisor who values your feedback and will act upon the ideas that you provide? Because we have to understand, well, what are employees' pain points when they left their previous employment? Why did they leave? And why are all employees leaving? Because they don't feel valued. So you could take those things around, but you can't do false advertising with this either. You've really got to make sure that you've got the kind of environment that will support this. Otherwise, you'll get somebody in and they'll go, wait a second, you sold me a little bit of snake oil here, where this really isn't the kind of environment that you sold me in that interview.
It's funny, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of how many times that I've heard that happen, and you were telling them one thing and they show up and it's something completely different. So I actually have a
little switch and bait.
I actually have a video that I'll send prospective people that are looking at joining our organization. And it's actually titled Why You Don't Want to Work Here. And the reason that I send that is that I want to make sure that I'm very sensitive of exactly what you just said, that you don't want to paint a picture. If you're bringing in a director and you're telling them that they're walking into everything that's flawlessly organized and they're going to have leads from day one and all the teachers are happy and they walk in and they're like, well, you're asking me, well, geez, enrollment's down 80%. And if we don't get 20 new enrollments in the next month, we're going to have to close. And this teacher's quit it. Like, you've got to make sure that you're transparent, because there's going to be, I mean, as Julie was saying, there's going to be that big disconnect, and you will have people that they come and they join for a day or a week and then they're out of there because it was just night and day from what you promised. So
Yeah.
I like to tell people up front what they're getting into. I mean, this is fast paced. This is not a 9 to 5. I mean, I'm not saying I want you to work 100 hours a week, but if there's an emergency, like a client's website goes down or something, you're going to have to jump in, and it could be 10 o'clock at night. And so you got to make sure that you're providing that layer of transparency, of course.
Yeah, that's so incredibly important. And I've had teachers where I interview them after they've left a job, and they said, you know what, I'm just not even going into the childcare industry because it's all going to be like this. So they kind of get told one picture, one way things are, and then they get into the environment, it's totally something different, and they're like, done. So I think the industry loses really good people by our approach to the interviewing and hiring process, where it could totally be different. And you'll find people who will accept the challenge of what you need to overcome in your environment. You just got to present it in a certain way and attract those kind of people. That's really important.
Love it. So I know that you have, I think you mentioned to me earlier before we hopped on that are you doing a live or a group, or what do you have tomorrow going on about this exact thing?
Yeah, so in my childcare business success group, thanks, Michael, we're doing a free training. It's going to be at noon Central Standard Time. It's just going to be a quick 30-minute sprint. But what I'm going to share with you is the one interview question that you must ask in order to attract the right people to you. So the people who will show up for the job interview and the people who will last longer than a week. So I'm going to share with you that question. And we're also going to be looking at the different objectives behind an interview. So when you structure your questions, what should you be thinking about? Because a lot of people are just like, all right, here are some good questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Yeah, I don't know where I see myself in 5 years. Does that mean you shouldn't hire me? Not necessarily. There's better questions to be asking. And I love developing interview questions because I think it's just really like the gateway into your organization. You're not going to give that key to anyone. So you want to make sure that it's really the right people for you.
I love it.
Or you shouldn't give that key to anyone, I should say.
And if we look at, and I know, so we said step one is you really need to understand that it is possible. That if you're just constantly, and it is an energy thing, as much as I try and think that it's not, because my brain always goes to, there's a tactic or there's a process. Yeah. Okay, great. So if you're hiring the wrong people, there's a tactic and a process to fix it. But as I've continued to realize more and more over the years that the buck always stops at me. And it usually, almost always, is something that either I have messed up or I just didn't have my mind in the right place. Yeah. So you have to kind of have that blank slate, so to speak, because almost every one of you that's listening or listen to the replay or won't even see this particular episode, maybe until far in the future, that you probably have been burned before. On a hire, and I can give you probably 20 examples in the last 10 years of hiring people, where I've had people that have sold me a bill of goods or vice versa. And often I've went in with that mindset of, well, I'm never going to be able to hire a great account manager, for example. So that's a role that I always have a hard time hiring for. Because there's just one of those that people are always kind of changing companies and things like that. But when I went in with that mindset, no, I'm never going to find someone that's good. And then I'm going to have to settle and I can't afford to pay them what they would want. And if you have all that stuff in your mind, it's going to completely affect your search process, the types of people that you're attracting, your energy on these calls that you're kind of repelling them, because you're going to realize that even during the interview process, you're going to say it kind of a little bit unconsciously, but it'll blurt out, well, I hope you're going to show up on Monday because we keep having issues. And
yes.
what that person's thinking, well, geez, if people aren't even showing up for their first day of work, that am I making the right decision here? So you've got to kind of have that blank slate. And I mean, I don't want to just say, oh, I'll just start thinking positively, because that's not the only answer, but you've got to have that blank slate and just know and start to visualize. I've been trying to do a lot more with visualization, and I know that you do a lot of meditation, Julie, in particular, and I've got to get myself into doing that. And it's sometimes easier said than done, but just those 10, 15 minutes of just, closing your eyes and starting to visualize, great staff coming in and how that makes you feel. It can completely transform your energy.
Yes.
And often, your energy then, if you were going to, because I know we've talked a lot about writing job descriptions, for example, that you want to have your energy in the right place as you're writing it, so it doesn't sound like you must have these credentials and 2 years experience preferred. You want to make that energy, kind of the job ad in particular, come alive due to your energy.
It's so true. And positive thinking, a lot of people, I think there's people who love positive thinking, and then there's people like, oh, the positive thinking thing. But it's really so much more than what we conceptualize, because when you think a positive thought, let's say you're like, ooh, can't wait to see who we attract. At the same time, you can't be thinking a negative thought. So you can't have two contradicting thoughts at the same time. You're either thinking from one thought process or you're thinking from another. Now, if you embrace the positive thought, so let's say you go to the place that says, ooh, I can't wait to see who shows up. I'm putting this ad out there and I can't wait. You're going to see a whole different set of opportunities, like maybe a different place that you could put that ad, or a different person that you could talk to about that position. So you're going to see a whole different set of opportunities. And that's really the magical things that happen with the true positive thinking, is that it is like you're looking at life through a different lens. And that lens that you're choosing to look through is going to give you a different set of opportunities, a different set of possibilities, a different set of outcomes than the lens that's negative, because that lens is going to give you a whole other set of opportunities or limitations or lack. So that's really what's important to grasp about the thought process that you hang on to while you're trying to attract and hire and motivate and retain the team of your dreams.
So I think the two big takeaways that we're providing to you today, the first one is getting yourself into that space where you know that it's possible.
Yeah.
Because you definitely.
It's hard. I want to tell you, it's hard to do it by yourself. It really is, because you're looking at your life and you're seeing everything through your eyes, right? You're saying, Julie, you're saying it's possible, but man, this one didn't show, and this one did this, and this one did this, and now I'm dealing with this. So it's really hard to be in this space by yourself. Just know that. You have to really put on your coat of cast iron or steel armor or whatever it is, so that you can go out into the world and say, you know what? That might be the reality, but inside of my mind, there's a whole different vision that's brewing. And that's what I'm committed to bringing to life.
Love it. And exactly to your point, that's why we do these live. That's why both Julie and I have Facebook groups. That's why Julie's always doing more and more Facebook lives and Facebook trainings. It's one of those things where I know you're often going to feel like you're on an island. And I know that there's many days that I felt like I'm on an island, and
there's still days I feel like I'm on an island and I have to plug back in. Definitely.
Yeah. Some days I wish I was on an island,
right.
like an island on the Bahamas or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to Florida in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to get some of that warm sunshine down in the state there. But it's much better if you, go and join the live in the group with Julie, for example, and just start to tap into other people that have been there and done that. Because for every person that's like, I don't see it, it ain't possible, this ain't going to happen, or whatever that situation may be, there's going to be someone else that's going to tell you the exact opposite. Yeah. Because when I mentioned earlier in this call of, I'm reading a lot of these forums and things like that, and people saying this, and they're saying all these different things. Has anyone else experienced bringing in a director and then a week later they quit? And then you get 30 people that all say yes. But then you start to get people that say, no, I've never had that. And my director's been here for 36 years. And then someone else chimes in, oh, me too. My director's been here for 16, another one for 18, another one for 10.
Yeah.
So there's always somebody that has experienced the same thing as you.
Yeah.
But then there's also that person that has experienced the polar opposite.
Yeah.
And I know that's, I mean, I'm boiling it down to simplicity, but I'm just letting you know that everything can be changed. I mean, there's always something that you can blame it on. You can blame it on COVID and all that. There's not enough parents in this area. This is a recession-proof industry. Parents are always going to need childcare.
Yes.
There's more two working families now than there ever has been in history. So even though the economy, you could argue that it's good, it's bad, everyone's got a different opinion. It really is irrelevant. But the data shows that there's lots and lots more two income families now, where maybe a while ago it used to be one income family. So there was more stay-at-home moms or dads. And now it's, well, there's a lot more families that have two people working, and sometimes even those two people working multiple jobs. So there's always going to be a need and a desire, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you're broadcasting your message both to prospective and new parents, but also to staff, to letting them know, hey, this is a great place to work. Here's why you're going to make an impact. Here is some of the fun benefits that we offer. And we know that while we can't pay the best and most amazing rates, that we promise you that you're going to have a fun culture and you're going to love what you do. And we really hope that you'll join our team.
Yeah, and if I had time, if we had a lot of time in the show, I would be telling you story after story after story of client who's totally like, they attracted somebody who was willing to take $2 less an hour to work for them. And they turned down a job at a more prestigious center to work with them. So I want to make sure that I give a couple more steps here too with this is number one, when you go to those groups, ask better questions. Don't ask, has anybody ever had this happen? Ask, you know what? I'm looking for the dreamiest of dreamiest staff. How do I do that? We're asking the wrong questions that are leading us down the road of negativity. And even though we're not intending to, it's taking us down this downward spiral. So if we're saying, well, has anybody ever experienced this? People are going to be like, yeah, I experienced this. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's this industry. And oh yeah, there's no good teachers out there. And people are horrible. So we're going to get into this whole place, this downward spiral, and we're going to get in there and we're going to think like nothing else is possible. So unplug from places that are going to be a source of negativity while you try to cultivate your vision. And there's a really powerful step in here, and that is to have gratitude. And if you're dealing with staff leaving, if you're dealing with staff issues, I want you to go around and think in your environment right now, what is it that you can express gratitude for? And this is a game changer. If you have a director who didn't show up, woohoo, you celebrate it. They didn't show up. Maybe they're just saving me a year of heartache. Maybe it means there's a bigger, better energy coming. But find the things that in that moment that you can be grateful for. Go around and look at all the staff that you have in place who are doing their jobs. Appreciate them. And even if you don't verbally appreciate them or physically, give them a gift, I want you to be saying it in your head. Look at Susan. Look at this one. Look at that one. Because there's an energetic connection that they're going to be feeling too. So really get into the land of it's possible, and then try to incorporate gratitude wherever you can. It's just so powerful. And in order to stay in this mindset, unplug from the people who are going to fill that negative bucket up. And there's so many people out there who will do it. But if you believe in possibilities, I want to see your comments. So if you're here tuning in live or to the replays, say, oh yeah, Julie, I believe it's possible. I'd love to hear that comment from you. And then I know that you're somebody who's going to make the shift happen. You're going to make the change happen in your life to where you're going to start seeing different people showing up for you. And that's the starting point.
If I could reach, it's over on my other desk over there. I've got my gratitude journal, and it definitely, it's one of those things that anytime that there's insanity going on or something that's, you're like, oh my gosh, it's always a great exercise to stop and express some gratitude, because it really, like that, I mean, it shifts. There's always something to be grateful for. And when one of my earliest mentors, one of the phrases that he always would say constantly, because I'm like, oh geez, we got more problems today. And his phrase was always, no problems, no business. If you don't have problems in your business, you really don't have a business.
Right.
So there's very few. I mean, there's always, because this is this is a problem, that's a problem. And I mean, if we really look at it in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we're able to do amazing things and live an incredible life, and there's always something to be grateful for. And whether you're going through some challenges in your center right now, it's not that it's irrelevant, but when you take a step back and really just start to look at it in the grand scheme of things, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things to be grateful for.
Oh, absolutely. And I love a quote that I heard by Mel Robbins earlier, and she says that if you have a problem that can be solved with action, you don't have a problem, you have a block.
Very true. No, that's a great quote as well. So, I like that one.
Yeah. So it's like, if we have a problem and we're not taking the action that we need to solve that problem, why not?
I like it.
Maybe it's that follow-up piece they need to work in with the marketing. Maybe it's something else, but I think that's a good one to be thinking about.
So where can I know you've got the stuff going on tomorrow. I want to throw up a link for our listeners. Where can they go to get some more details?
Sure. If you go to childcarebusinesssuccess.com, and in the top menu, look for the tab that says Free Success Group. Click on that, and there's an application to get into the group. It's totally free. Everything is all free, but we do like to know who our members are and what their challenges are and why you're in the group and all that good stuff. So there is a little application that will just take you a couple of moments to fill out, and then it will give you a direct link to the Facebook group where you can let us know that you filled out the application, and we'll make sure that you get in before the training.
I'm going to get this up on the groups right now.
Yeah, we'd love to have you if you're struggling with interviewing, hiring, and I really tie everything together very holistically. So we're not looking at Band-Aid solutions. It's really looking at a long-term permanent solution to the challenges that you're facing.
Love it.
Lots of S's in that domain name.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I was going to throw the full URL because I've got the full one on here, but I think it'll be tough for people to remember the whole URL. So yeah,
and just click on Free Success Group and we'll get you in. And the training's happening tomorrow, noon Central Standard Time. And yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, make sure you get in there with Julie. I mean, she is the guru when it comes to hiring, attracting, retaining, just keeping a really great culture. I mean, everything relating to hiring, among other things. So make sure you get into that group. Love it.
We didn't really talk about anything that's going on with you.
Nothing too crazy. Just we're just kind of continuing to stay focused on just driving enrollments. We're starting to get some stuff ready for summer camp. A lot of our centers are going to now start getting promotions ready for summer camp because it looks like for most of the centers, they'll be able to have a summer camp this year. So that's great news. So just a lot of promotions around summer camp, redoing some websites.
I need to go to a summer camp.
I know there's I can't remember his name, but I know I've seen one or two kind of adult summer camps that literally specialize in that exact thing.
Yeah.
And just like all these fun adult activities and so that's kind of a fun business model, I think.
Oh, good. And where can people find out more information about
So throw my URL up here, just localchildcaremarketing.com. We're finishing building out another fun URL, parent marketing. So kind of starting to broaden just the way that we're spewing all of our knowledge and insights to really trying to become kind of the experts in all things marketing to parents.
Oh, nice.
So that will be coming in the near future as well.
About that. I think that'd be really valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and leave in the comments, let Julie and I know, do you like this new time? I know we switched up the time, so we're playing with different times that try. And I know I think a lot of our listeners tend to listen to this at their leisure, and sometimes we get a handful of people that were on live today. So thank you for coming on live.
Say hello. Let us know you're here. Did they say hi?
A couple of hellos, not as many today, but I think a lot of people tend to listen to this live. So let us know about the times. I know some people, they try and they take a little bit of break on their lunch hour, and that's when they like. Some people are early morning, evenings. I know Julie does a lot of stuff on evenings and sometimes weekends. So I tend to not do as much on evenings and weekends, but I know for some people that's better for you. So give us some comments as well. No, we always appreciate getting the chance to share our insights and our knowledge with you, and just to make as much of an impact as as the both of us can. So
yeah, absolutely. We'd love to connect with you. And even if you're just in the mood to have a conversation, let's chat and see what's going on in your program. And I really want everybody to know that there are solutions that are available. If you're sitting there in a place where you're feeling the pain, the mental anguish of trying to make it work, reach out to one of us and have a conversation. And that's sometimes all it takes to really change your life, is to have a conversation.
love it.
Can I give you another quote?
Yes, I have a quick one.
Do you have a quote?
A book that I read called Expect to Win, but I'll give you, it's on hiring, and then I'll have you give your quote as well. So
Okay.
mine's very short and sweet. It says, your human talent is your most important talent. And I think some of us far too often, I think we, myself included in my business, often we forget that it's completely a people business. You're going to have systems and fancy buildings and curriculum and things like that, but it's not the curriculum that's going to make the difference. It's the people that are delivering the curriculum. It's your directors, the assistants, the people at the front desk, and people that are helping, the chef, the cook, the cleaners. All those people are actually making the difference.
Yeah, and I love, I don't know I forgot who it was, if it was Zappos or Tom's shoes, but, and I may have shared this before, but I love what they say is that, we're not a shoe company. We're in the people business. We're a customer service company whose product just happens to be shoes.
Yeah, that's a Zappos quote. Yeah, yeah.
Service right, you do the people part right, regardless of what your product is, you can be a success. So
love it. No, I've had a chance to only visit a few companies in my lifetime that have opened up tours, and that was one of the best tours that I've ever had. Yeah, so this was, probably,
when I was in Vegas.
This was probably 10 years ago. And we'll end with this fun story, but it just goes to show how much they were committed. So, I didn't have a car, so I was in there for business. So I took a cab ride, and it's not like it's in downtown Vegas. It was probably a $50 cab fare, maybe more. But I got there, and there were, 25 other people, and walk in, and they're offering me a beverage, like I'm walking into a hotel. The tour was just absolutely amazing. And then at the end of the tour, they did a couple things that just kind of really wowed me. The first one is they had this whole library of books, and they said, these are some of our favorite books. Any book you'd like, go ahead and take a copy. They're on us. No limits. So some people were grabbing one or two. Some people were probably going a little bit above and beyond and taking 30 books. But there were probably 1,000, maybe 30 to 50 books, and then probably 100, 200 copies of each. Wow, that's pretty nice. And they go, well, how are you getting back? Do you need us to call you a cab? Some people took rides out there. Some people had cabs, et cetera. And so here's a voucher. You're going to give this to this particular cab company, and your cab fare is on us. And there's no, they didn't have any rhyme or reason to do it. Those tours are taking up time and money and things like that. But it's just those little things that they know that the ways they could try and wow people, and that's what they initially were doing, was wowing people by the speed of their delivery. They were one of the first companies that were doing overnight express. You would buy it today, and then all of a sudden it's there tomorrow, which, this was 10 plus years ago. But it's just an amazing company. So
very nice. Very nice.
Well, as always, Julie and I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and upcoming weekend. Leave us some love, leave us some comments. Make sure you check out Julie's Facebook group. Check out my site if we can be of any service. And just as always, feel free to send us a direct message if we can help you in any way.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Have a good day. See you guys.